On the first Sunday after his funeral, Sandra Ellis knelt in her driveway with a wrench and a silence that wouldn't lift. The chrome and leather wheelchair sat empty beside her, the last thing of his she could fix. From down the street came the heavy thud of car doors, 3 of them closing in staggered time. Sandra straightened, grease rag in one hand, wrench in the other, and watched them roll to a stop at the curb. 3 men in dark suits stepped out. The lead one held a manila folder, the kind that doesn't arrive on a quiet Sunday. The man at the gate raised his ID without a word. Investigative badge, Pentagon seal. Inside the house, 8-year-old Maya pressed her hands to the window above the couch and didn't move.
Don't open the door. Stay inside, baby.
Ma'am, we're from the Pentagon. We need to speak with you.
Say it from there. Who are you?
Agent David Hayes, Pentagon Inspector General. These are Agents Mercer and Chen.
Inspector General. They're here about the thing I buried 7 years ago.
We need to speak with you regarding Brian Gallagher.
Brian. What does he have to do with this?
She looked toward the house, where Maya's face was a pale blur behind the curtain. Then she unlatched the gate. They followed her inside, past the grease-stained wrench she set on the porch, and into a living room that smelled of old coffee and metal polish. Maya stood in the hallway, half hidden by the doorframe, watching the strangers with a child's silent alarm.
Baby, go to your room. I'll be there in a minute.
Maya didn't move. She looked at the men in suits, then at her mother, and backed slowly out of sight. Hayes set the manila folder on the coffee table, the red Department of Defense stamp facing Sandra like a verdict she hadn't heard yet. 6 days a week, Sandra worked under cars at a Norfolk auto shop, earning just enough to keep the lights on.
The rent is due Thursday. Maya's dental appointment next week, and Mr. Bryan's chair still needs that new brake cable.
Mom, why doesn't the VA fix Mr. Bryan's chair?
Because they said it's obsolete. But nothing's obsolete if I can still turn a wrench.
Her weekly paycheck arrived, and after deductions, there was never enough. She bought Mr. Bryan's brake cable with money meant for groceries. After the funeral, she sat with a photo album, the empty wheelchair in the corner, and let herself cry. Buried beneath old tax forms in her nightstand was one document she never looked at: the Honorable Discharge Certificate from the U.S. Air Force. The discharge was supposed to be an honor. Instead, it was a door slammed shut on a truth the Air Force didn't want to hear. Now, the same government that had dismissed her was sitting in her living room, waiting, and Sandra had no idea which version of the truth they came for. 2 years earlier, Sandra met Mr. Bryan on a morning when his wheelchair brake had locked up and the VA wouldn't send anyone.
They told me the model is obsolete. Can't get parts. I am supposed to just stop moving, I guess.
Obsolete just means someone stopped caring. I still care. Let me take a look.
Every Sunday after that, she wheeled the chair into her driveway. Adjusted, tightened, replaced. He'd hand her a tool she needed before she asked, and they'd trade stories over the scent of grease.
You know, my son was in the Air Force too. He never came around much after I got the chair.
Then he missed out. You are good company, Mr. Bryan.
The parts came out of her own pocket. Bearings, brake cables, seat cushion springs. She never told him what it cost. For 2 years, that wheelchair was their Sunday church. Now, it stood on the driveway, empty, and inside, the men from the Pentagon were waiting to tell her that the chair hid something she could never have guessed. Sandra stared at the folder, but her mind was a week earlier, at the cemetery where they'd buried a man who never raised his voice. Brian Gallagher's flag-draped coffin, the folding chairs half empty. A Korean War veteran outlived by silence.
The chair is all that's left of him. I'll fix it every Sunday until it crumbles.
But in that grief, an older wound opened. 2018, an Air Force hangar. Maintenance logs with dates that didn't match.
These planes will crash if those inspections aren't real. I have to report it.
She walked the report into the commander's office. He didn't look at it. He looked at her like she was the problem.
Sergeant Ellis, your complaint has been noted and dismissed.
3 weeks later, an honorable discharge with no court-martial. A deal to stay quiet, wrapped in a certificate. Now the same institution sat across her coffee table, and the anger she'd buried for 7 years burned through the grief.
Miss Ellis, did Mr. Gallagher ever tell you why he chose you to maintain his chair?
He said his old chair needed someone who wouldn't quit. I never asked for more than that.
Miss Ellis, we're not here about his service or his death. We're here about your complaint, July 2019.
They dug it up. After all these years,
Brian Gallagher was Commander Robert Gallagher's father, your former commanding officer.
Mr. Bryan was his. No, that can't be right.
He spent 7 years quietly pushing for the Inspector General to reopen your case. We found his correspondence.
He opened the folder and removed a single envelope, the handwriting worn but unmistakable.
He wrote this to us a week before he passed. He said, you would have the original records.
Sandra took the envelope as if it were made of glass, her mechanic's hands suddenly unsteady.
He planned this. All those Sundays, he planned this.
She unfolded the paper, and Brian's voice came through the ink as if he were still on the porch. Dear Sandra, if you are reading this, my stubborn hope finally worked. I owe you more truth than I gave. My son, your commander, buried your complaint. He called it discipline. I called it disgrace. For 7 years, I wrote letters to anyone who would listen, until a new Inspector General finally did. I never told you because I knew you'd try to stop me. And this was one repair you couldn't do with a wrench. The original maintenance logs and my son's handwritten admissions. I hid them after he threw them out. They're somewhere you've touched every Sunday for 2 years. Somewhere only you would think to look.
The chair. He must mean the chair. But where? He hid them in the wheelchair, didn't he? He put them in the chair.
That's what his instructions say. Where exactly, he didn't tell us. He said, you'd know.
Sandra rose without a word, the letter still in her hand, and walked past the agents to the front door. The wheelchair sat on the driveway, exactly where she'd left it, chrome catching the late afternoon light.
I've tightened every bolt on that chair. I never thought to look inside the cushion.
Miss Ellis, if that evidence is there, we need it now. The window to reopen your case closes in 3 days.
Every Sunday for 2 years, I oiled the leather on this seat. He'd sit right here and tell me stories. The cushion springs broke twice. I replaced them myself, but I never checked underneath.
She pressed both hands flat against the leather, feeling underneath for something that didn't belong.
There's a firm spot beneath the foam. That isn't the frame.
Miss Ellis, we can come back with a warrant. But if he trusted you, don't let us take that choice away.
He built the secret into the thing I loved most. I owe it to him to open it myself.
Sandra wheeled the chair inside, its wheels squeaking on the linoleum. The agents stepped back against the wall.
Mom, why is Mr. Bryan's chair inside? What's happening?
Sweetheart, Mr. Bryan left something in his chair. I need to find it. Go to your room, please.
Those men look like the ones who came when Daddy left. I am not moving.
She traced the cushion seams, feeling each repair, and stopped at the zipper she'd replaced years before.
He asked for a new zipper, said the old one pinched. I never thought to check inside.
Did Mr. Bryan hide a treasure, like in your stories?
More like a bomb. Once I open this, there's no going back.
Miss Ellis, Brian believed in you. That's why we're here. But we need those records soon.
Her hand hovered over the zipper, trembling between duty and fear. Then she reached for the pull.
Miss Ellis, if you don't open that cushion tonight, the case could vanish again, and the people who buried the truth will know we're looking.
Sandra looked at Maya, now clutching her leg as if she understood the danger better than any adult.
Don't be scared, Mom. I'm right here.
If I open this and those officers find out before the case is sealed, they won't just come for me. They'll come for her.
Miss Ellis, Mr. Gallagher believed you were the one person who could finish this. He said you'd know when the time came.
And in that moment, a Sunday from last spring flickered through her mind. Brian's voice under the shade of the porch.
He told me once, one day they'll come for you, and you'll know what to do. I thought he was talking about a broken axle. Maya, baby, go to your room and put on your headphones. Mommy has to do something important.
Then she turned back to the wheelchair, and her hand found the zipper with the steadiness of a wrench on a familiar bolt.
For Brian, for the truth. No more hiding.
The zipper opened with a sound like a held breath escaping, revealing a hollow beneath the foam. Inside lay a clear plastic bag, pressed flat, containing a small USB drive and a stack of yellowed paper.
Commander Gallagher's handwriting. I saw it on my discharge. He signed me away with the same hand.
The top page listed aircraft, tail numbers, and inspection dates that had been falsified, evidence she'd never been allowed to keep.
Miss Ellis, may I see them?
She lifted the bag out and placed it in his waiting hand, her fingers brushing the plastic as if it were a sacrament. Hayes held the USB drive up to the light, the connector glinting, the tiny device carrying years of hidden truth.
This is the original log data, and the handwritten notes, confessions. They're dated a week before your complaint was dismissed.
Sandra watched him turn the pages, her breath uneven as years of silence crumbled around them.
Brian hid this for 7 years. He wanted the truth to have a fighting chance.
Hayes scanned the notes, his eyes stopping on a line that made him press his lips into a thin, hard line.
These are not just missing logs, they're confessions, dated and signed. This is enough to reopen everything.
He stole them from his own son. He chose me over his blood. He gave up his own son for a mechanic he met on a porch.
He believed the uniform shouldn't protect a lie. His last request was that we find you and make this right.
On the coffee table, the maintenance logs lay spread like a testimony the Air Force had tried to bury.
This is what Brian meant. Not a repair, but a reckoning.
Miss Ellis, we can reopen your case within the week, but we'll need you to testify. It won't be easy.
I've been invisible for 7 years, Agent Hayes. I am done with that. You'll have my testimony.
Hayes extended his hand. Sandra took it, her grip firm, a promise sealed over the leather of Brian's wheelchair. As the agents gathered the files, Sandra's mind slipped backward to a Sunday 6 weeks before he died. Brian was quieter that day. He'd watched her tighten the brake cable for a long time before he spoke.
Sandra, you keep this chair in better shape than the Air Force kept its planes. Promise me you'll keep it ready.
Ready for what? You planning on racing me?
No, child. This chair is not just for me anymore. It's for someone who'll need it when I am gone.
She'd thought he was slipping. Now she understood. He'd been planting a seed in soil he knew would outlast him.
He wasn't asking me to fix a chair. He was asking me to finish what he started.
The wheelchair had been his pulpit, his confessional, and now his legacy, passed to the one person who never stopped showing up.
Miss Ellis, we'll be in touch. This evidence changes everything. Thank you.
When the door closed and the SUVs pulled away, Sandra stood alone with the wheelchair and the weight of what it now carried. 3 nights later, the phone rang while Sandra was oiling the wheelchair's hinges. Agent Hayes's voice was tight with urgency.
Miss Ellis, the tribunal is scheduled for next month. Commander Gallagher will be in the courtroom. You'll have to testify directly against him.
Face to face with him again. The man who signed my career into a shredder. With Maya in the back row, I'll be there, Agent Hayes. 7 years is long enough.
She hung up and stood in the center of the room, the wheelchair's chrome catching the dim light like a silent witness. Maya emerged from the hallway in her nightgown, clutching the crayon drawing of Mr. Bryan's wheelchair to her chest.
Mom, are you gonna fight the bad man like Mr. Bryan did?
I am going to try, baby. It's not a fight with fists, but with the truth. And the truth is stronger.
Mr. Bryan said, you never give up. That's why you can do it.
Sandra pulled Maya onto her lap, the wheelchair beside them, and in her daughter's steady heartbeat found the courage to face the courtroom. In the weeks before the tribunal, Sandra spread the maintenance logs across her kitchen table, checking every date against her memory.
His signature on page 12 matches the one on my discharge. He knew exactly what he was doing.
She met with the legal team in a government building hallway, their briefcases heavy with the same burden that had almost crushed her.
Miss Ellis, your testimony will be the prosecution's cornerstone. Are you prepared for cross-examination?
They already tried to bury me once. I am still standing. I can handle a few questions.
That night, the phone rang again. But the voice on the line was not Agent Hayes. A muffled voice said only, "Drop the case, Ellis, for your daughter's sake." Then the line went dead.
They mentioned Maya. Now it's not just about me. But I won't let fear do their work for them.
She called Hayes immediately, reporting the threat, then picked up the photo album of her Air Force days, a reminder of why she started. The next morning, she received the official summons in the mail. She opened it at her kitchen table and read every word aloud. The military courtroom was dense with the smell of old wood and quiet authority. Sandra walked to the front with her back straight and her jaw set. Commander Robert Gallagher sat at the defense table, his uniform stripped of the pride it once claimed, his eyes sliding past her like she was still invisible.
He hasn't changed. Same cold stare. But I am not the sergeant he dismissed anymore.
She took the witness stand and laid her palm flat on the Bible, swearing to tell the truth she'd been forced to bury for 7 years.
Miss Ellis, please identify the documents you recovered from the wheelchair of the late Mr. Brian Gallagher.
These are the original maintenance logs for the 2018 inspection cycles, with falsified dates and signatures from my former commanding officer.
The prosecution presented the USB drive and 14 pages to the panel of judges, each page a silent witness to the crime.
Objection. These records are unverified.
Object all you want. That handwriting is yours, and we both know it.
The courtroom hushed as the judges leaned forward, the weight of the evidence settling like a verdict that hadn't yet been spoken. The defense counsel rose, but Commander Gallagher raised a hand and stood to question her himself, his voice cold and sharp.
Sergeant Ellis, isn't it true you filed your complaint because you were passed over for promotion?
No, sir. I filed it because pilots were flying aircraft with brakes that could fail. Lives were at stake.
Then why wait 7 years to produce these alleged records?
Because you buried them. And the only man who had the courage to dig them up was your own father.
A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Commander Gallagher's face tightened, but he didn't retreat.
I never wanted to be a whistleblower. I wanted to be a mechanic, but I couldn't let those planes fly.
The cross-examination ended with the commander returning to his seat in silence, and the courtroom felt the shift.
He knows I am not lying. Everyone in this room knows.
The presiding judge called a recess, and Sandra stepped down from the stand, her legs steady for the first time in 7 years. The courtroom reconvened the next morning. Sandra sat in the front row with Brian's letter, and Maya's drawing pressed flat against her palm. The senior judge read without ceremony. On all counts of falsifying records and obstruction, the defendants were guilty. Commander Gallagher stared straight ahead as he was cuffed and led away, dishonorably discharged and sentenced to confinement.
He's finished. The truth outran him. Brian's silence is over.
That evening, the newspaper front page carried a photograph of Brian's wheelchair and the headline, "Wheelchair Whistleblower Unearths Air Force Scandal." In the emptying hallway, Agent Hayes approached her, his habitual formality softened by something like respect.
Miss Ellis, the Air Force is formally offering reinstatement at your former rank with 7 years of back pay effective immediately.
She took the envelope, broke the official seal, and read the first sentence. Then she folded it and looked at him.
Rank. Back pay. The apology I never got. But is this what Brian would want for me? Thank you, Agent Hayes. I'll need a few days to decide.
For 3 days, she sat on her porch, Brian's letter in one hand, the reinstatement offer in the other, weighing the cost of returning.
They want to give me back what they took. But I don't need the rank. I need to make sure it never happens again. Agent Hayes, I am declining reinstatement, but I have a counter-proposal.
On the other end, Hayes paused. Then he asked what alternative she had in mind.
Let me train new mechanics. Give me a civilian role where I can teach them integrity, not just how to turn a wrench.
He took the proposal to his superiors. Within a week, the reply came back. In the Pentagon hallway, Hayes extended a new folder. This time not an investigation, but a contract.
Miss Ellis, the Air Force has never had a position like this. They're taking a chance on you.
They're not taking a chance. They're finally listening.
She stepped into the noon sun, the wheelchair waiting in her shop, and a classroom full of young mechanics who would learn more than just machines. In the quiet of her auto shop before dawn, Sandra pulled the canvas cover off Brian's wheelchair. The chrome gleamed, but she saw every scratch like a sentence. She spent that Sunday restoring it not for use, but for memory. New upholstery, polished spokes, a bolt tightened with the same wrench she held when the Pentagon came.
Mom, why is Mr. Brian's chair so shiny?
Because I am making sure we never forget what it carried.
She placed the chair under a single spotlight in the corner of the shop. A small American flag tucked beside the cushion, a single white flower on the seat. On Veterans Day, the shop opened its doors, and Sandra wheeled the chair at the head of a small parade of mechanics marching to the memorial.
Mr. Brian is still here, isn't he?
Yeah, baby. He's everywhere we take this chair.
At the memorial, she parked the chair beside a row of veterans in theirs, the leather still warm from the sun, the chrome catching the light. It would return to the spotlit corner every other day of the year. But today, it rolled in the open, carrying nothing but a name everyone now knew. In the classroom, the wheelchair sat beside the blackboard, its chrome reflecting the diagrams of engines and flight controls.
Before you touch a wrench, I've got one rule. Integrity isn't a sticker you put on your toolbox. It's what you do when no one is looking.
She told them about a man who trusted a mechanic more than his own son, and about a wheelchair that carried the truth for 7 years.
A machine can be fixed with the right tool. A broken system needs people who refuse to look away.
That evening, Maya sat at the kitchen table with her crayons, drawing the wheelchair again, but this time with a golden star on the seat.
This is for your desk at the school, Mom, so the new mechanics can see who started it all.
Baby, that's the most important repair I've ever seen.
She pinned it above her desk at the training center, next to the framed letter from Brian. The wheelchair cast its shadow onto the classroom floor, and every day, the students saw what it meant to stand up by staying seated.
He said the chair wasn't just for him. He meant it for all of us.
Evening settled over the auto shop, the tools put away, the garage doors closed. Only the wheelchair's spotlight remained on. Sandra sat on the concrete floor with her back against the wheelchair's wheel, Maya asleep across her lap, a blanket tucked around her.
Thank you, Brian.
The wheelchair gleamed in silence, a single white flower still fresh on its leather seat from the parade that morning. It had carried a man, then his evidence, then his memory. Now it carried only light. Outside the window, the world was quieting. Sandra pulled Maya closer and closed her eyes. Her fingers rested on the wheelchair's armrest, the cool chrome familiar as a heartbeat. In the reflection of the shop window, the wheelchair and the woman and the child blended into a single still shape. The spotlight over the wheelchair glowed on, a vigil that would burn every night in this shop, and on a Sunday morning somewhere, a wrench would still turn, not out of duty, but out of something that never died.